Envision a stage where black cultural icons like James Brown, Michael Jackson, and Whitney Houston once performed, a spectacle that revolutionized global perceptions of fashion, music, and black culture. But then something shocking happened, and this legendary show was canceled. Soul Train's demise is only one chapter in the epic saga of a television legend who came from nothing, ruled the small screen for more than 3 decades, and then crashed and burned as a result of an unexpected turn of events. Do you want to know what really happened in that tragic scene? Come explore the fascinating background, heyday, and reasons behind Soul Train's demise with me. African-American writer and MC Don Cornelius started to make a daring dream a reality in Chicago in the early 1970s. Being a dedicated music lover and astute observer of injustices in the entertainment business, he came to the realization that African Americans were almost barred from television, particularly from big music programs. A platform for the free and unapologetic expression of black music and culture was Cornelius's ultimate goal in creating an entertainment show. In August 1970, Cornelius debuted Soul Train on a Chicago station with a tiny crew and little funding. The upbeat vibe and soul/R&B music of the event made an immediate impression. Cornelius doggedly juggled several responsibilities, including hosting, producing, and talent scouting, all while working out of a cramped studio with little resources. In addition to musical performances, each program showcased a creative and patriotic spirit. A devoted following was soon formed, thanks to the artists' one-of-a-kind dancing skills and enthusiastic performances. After seeing the show's potential, Cornelius relocated Soul Train to Los Angeles in 1971, opening the door to a wider audience and more resources. Soul Train was able to grow beyond its television position and become a cultural sensation because to the City of Dreams. Soul Train was the venue of choice for artists such as Gladys Knight, Curtis Mayfield, and Stevie Wonder. There, people got their first glimpse of the new musical trends and stars of the future. The Soul Train line, in which the dancers lined up in 2 parallel lines and alternated showing off their inventive routines, was a staple of the performance. Rather than being only an element of the performance, it grew to represent the liberation of the arts and individual expression. Beyond just music, the show also featured African-American-inspired clothing and hairstyles that influenced the youth of the day. In the United States, after the Civil Rights Movement, Soul Train was a cultural touchstone. The show was a powerful representation of black pride and empowerment. It brought a positive portrayal of African Americans on television, challenging long-held prejudices. Soul Train was Cornelius's idea, and he made it clear that he wanted its viewers to be able to identify with the music, culture, and way of life that it promoted. Soul Train became the first African-American produced and hosted television program in 1971 when it went nationwide. The show's popularity went beyond and beyond everyone's expectations. It attracted millions of spectators every week and gave many black performers a chance to become famous. Soul Train was an important springboard for many famous people's careers, including Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston. Soul Train, which began in a modest Chicago studio and went on to become a national phenomenon, was Don Cornelius's dream come true, and a representation of a time when millions of people were brought together by shared cultural experiences and musical rhythms. Few will ever forget the uplifting adventure. Soul Train, a music show that influenced American popular culture and offered entertainment, was at its pinnacle in the 1970s and 1980s. At that time, Soul Train was more than just a venue for music. It was a representation of African American pride, solidarity, and imagination. The show shook up television music programming under Don Cornelius's direction. Soul Train forged a new course when it pioneered the use of music, dancing, and lighting to create an uplifting environment, in contrast to the formulaic and lifeless music shows of yesteryear. Not only did the artists perform, but each note and step conveyed a story. Here, superstars like Aretha Franklin, Michael Jackson, and Stevie Wonder performed for millions of American fans. Soul Train was more than that. It was a springboard for many musicians to become household names throughout the world. Michael Jackson's renowned dancing movements and Whitney Houston's hypnotic voice were first seen by audiences here. Soul Train's crucial significance in developing modern music was highlighted by these performances, which became landmarks in music history. Beyond only the music, the presentation was captivating. Additionally, it served as a one-of-a-kind fashion show, where performers and artists showcased their individuality via daring and imaginative attire, ranging from colorful garments and huge afro hairdos to dazzling stilettos. Every detail showcased the unique style of that time. Plus, there was the legendary Soul Train line, when all the dancers waited in line to show off their expressive and one-of-a-kind routines. This section gained immense popularity and became a universally cherished cultural icon. Furthermore, Soul Train was helpful in bridging disparate cultures. The show's musical celebrations were something the whole family could enjoy together with each new episode. It became a staple in African-American homes, where neighbors would congregate to enjoy the upbeat music, see the newest styles, and sing along to old favorites. Soul Train's impact extended well beyond the borders of the U.S. The show's rapid global expansion served to popularize African-American culture and serve as an inspiration for future music shows. The fact that Soul Train was considered by many foreign singers to be a career-defining moment helped to establish the show's indispensability in the music business. Soul Train's Don Cornelius was the driving force behind all this success. His profound voice, graceful manner, and mesmerizing hosting style not only added a touch of class to the program, but he also sent a strong message of unity, love, and peace. His now iconic phrase, "Love, Peace, and Soul," encapsulated the program's ideals and served as more than just a slogan. Soul Train's golden age was more than simply a blip in the television timeline. It was a cultural epic in which the show's music style and community bonds would remain forever. However, this brilliant age eventually faded, making space for changes in the entertainment sector, as all great stars do. That is the backstory we will be digging into as we examine the demise of this renowned program. Soul Train, which aired for more than 30 years, was more than simply a music TV show. It was a cultural icon that brought together fashion, community pride, and music. The show came into being at a period when black music was not well appreciated, and it became a special venue for highlighting underappreciated musicians and styles. Famed musicians like Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, and Aretha Franklin were able to reach more people on a more intimate level. In addition to performing, it gave them a platform to share their experiences and establish themselves as legitimate figures in the music business. As a fashion icon, Soul Train was more than just a band. From disco-style vests and shimmery jumpsuits to confident afro haircuts, the idea of dancers dancing in stylish costumes had a major influence on design in the 1970s and 1980s. The show had an impact on how a whole generation saw beauty. The styles popularized by Soul Train became instant classics, impacting not just the African-American community, but popular culture throughout the world. New musical styles and dancing steps were introduced by the show, which further expanded its impact. During the 80s and 90s, when hip-hop was at its peak, Soul Train provided a platform to promote artists such as Run DMC, LL Cool J, and Public Enemy. The show's dancers' high-energy performances also contributed to the rise in popularity of certain dance styles, including as popping, locking, and breakdancing. Soul Train was an important period in music history, but it was also a catalyst for new trends in street culture. With the launch of the Soul Train Music Awards in 1987, the program's history was further cemented. The greatest in R&B, soul, and hip-hop were feted at this award show, which also served as a spectacular gathering place for these performers. Soul Train's prominence in the music business was further solidified by the unforgettable moments made by performances at the awards, which ranged from Prince to Whitney Houston. Forging a deep bond inside the community was maybe the program's greatest accomplishment. Soul Train was the first television show that millions of African Americans could identify with. Not only did this encourage a feeling of pride, but it also set the stage for subsequent programming honoring the Black community's history in areas such as music, style, and daily living. Whether it was an episode of Soul Train or any other musical, the whole family could join in the fun and feel the magic of music as a unifying force. Soul Train served as a unifying force across generations and as a symbol of music appreciation. It was more than that, though. It was a defining moment in television history, but it also left an enduring legacy, one in which the ideals of love, peace, and soul were ingrained in viewers' hearts long after the show had ended its run. The world is impermanent. Soul Train started to deteriorate after its heyday, and there were a lot of things that contributed to it. The show's original genius that had made it a legend began to wane as it approached its last years on air. There was a great deal of strain on the iconic show due to the fast changes happening in the music and television sectors. Changes in audience preference began in the late 1990s. The R&B and soul that had once defined Soul Train were becoming irrelevant as newer genres like hip-hop and pop gained popularity. At the same time, the popularity of reality talent programs such as The Voice and American Idol skyrocketed. In addition to introducing new energy, these performances helped bring the audience and the performers closer together. Soul Train, with its tried-and-true formula and signature sound, started to seem stale in this setting. Crank up the competition, and things got even more difficult. When it came to promoting Black musicians, Soul Train had almost little competition in its early years. However, by the 1990s, networks such as MTV, BET, and VH1 had grown into entertainment behemoths. Soul Train was struggling to stay afloat in the face of intense competition from both MTV and BET, which had previously been criticized for their lack of diversity. MTV was now not only airing hip-hop music videos, but also producing innovative content that connected with younger generations. Don Cornelius's resignation in 1993 was a major setback for Soul Train. Soul Train lost its soul when Don stepped down as host. Despite the fact that he brought sophistication to the show as its creator and host, his characteristic sign-off was love, peace, and soul. Shamar Moore and others who followed him attempted to inject new life into the organization, but they were unable to match Don's brilliant ideas and magnetic personality. Even longtime fans started to notice that something had changed with the program. At the same time, younger audiences, who were formerly loyal Soul Train watchers, flocked to other platforms to listen to music. In the early 2000s, when the internet was just starting to take off, music-sharing services like LimeWire and Napster came out. Then YouTube came along. It was a game changer. Young people could now find new music and see their favorite musicians whenever they wanted, rather than having to wait for a weekly TV broadcast. And further obstacle that could not be avoided were financial difficulties. Significant resources were needed to produce Soul Train, a long-running television program. Regardless, ad income fell in tandem with viewing. There was a noticeable decline in manufacturing quality in its last years. Compared to when the event was at its best, the sets were uninspired, the performances were flat, and the selection of performers was unimpressive. The perfect combination of these circumstances rendered Soul Train hopeless. An iconic television program that had once lifted the spirits of African Americans had slipped into oblivion. Still, Soul Train was able to hold on to its dedicated fan base, who reflected on the show's glory days with nostalgia for the groundbreaking way it brought together music, dance, and lifestyle. However, a stunning incident, a moment of notoriety on live television, was the deciding factor that led to the final demise of the renowned show Soul Train. It wasn't only financial troubles or changes in audience tastes that did the trick. The revered last occurrence. In its latter years, what transpired on Soul Train's stage? We'll have to see. Soul Train was a cultural phenomenon for decades, but it all came to an end in sorrow when a contentious incident dealt the death blow. A program that had endured for more than 35 years was brought to its knees by an unforeseen and devastating tragedy. While the program was in its latter years, attempting to adapt to the ever-shifting landscape of popular music and television, the event took place. Soul Train hoped that by inviting a number of young, famous musicians with innovative performance styles, they might attract viewers and bring the show in line with modern trends. But the audience's tolerance for one of those performances was too high. In a shocking display of provocative dance moves, revealing clothing and insulting lyrics, a young musician stunned viewers of a live broadcast. People were furious about it right away on social media, and the program had a lot of complaints from people, mostly parents, over it. Many people thought that Soul Train had abandoned its fundamental principles after that incident, which caused a surge of harsh criticism. Beyond the negative reception from the general audience, the show's finances took a nosedive when key sponsors abruptly pulled their support. After receiving criticism from viewers, the TV network had to decide if the show was still representative of their brand. Once a cultural icon, Soul Train was now the subject of criticism and fan disillusionment. It was probably a devastating moment for the show's creator and loyal supporter Don Cornelius. He may not have been involved personally anymore, but he was supposedly devastated to see his idea consumed by terrible developments he had never imagined. The production crew finally opted to terminate the program due to the increasing pressure from all quarters. An iconic era in television history came to a close in 2006 when Soul Train formally said goodbye to its viewers. Soul Train's reputation has been unblemished by this notorious incident. It has been and will be a symbol of innovation, musical appreciation, and camaraderie for generations. The most important thing to remember from this whole ordeal is that no matter how much you try to change, you must never lose your individuality. That is the essence of Soul Train. A lasting impression was made by the program during its illustrious run. Soul Train has left an indelible impression, even though its finale was heartbreaking. Even though Soul Train aired its final season in 2006, the show's message and impact have endured for years. Its impact extends far beyond its kinetic music and dance styles. It embodies a sea change in global perceptions of and appreciation for Black culture. The Soul Train Music Awards are a method for Soul Train to keep going strong. This awards event not only pays tribute to R&B, hip-hop, and soul performers, but it also confirms the show's huge cultural influence. The fact that the Soul Train Music Awards continue to bring together artists of all ages, from industry heavyweights like Mary J. Blige to up-and-coming stars, is evidence that the program's legacy continues in modern music. Soul Train's style and fashion choices will live on long after the music has faded. The show's eccentric and colorful costumes have had an impression on culture and the fashion industry alike. Soul Train is an iconic television show that many contemporary designers look to for ideas on how to update their own work, while paying homage to the show's groundbreaking spirit. Soul Train has become an even more enduring icon of artistic independence and inventiveness. Modern video sharing sites like YouTube and TikTok have taken the principles taught by the show and expanded upon them. Soul Train was a show that allowed us to be creative in many ways. Now, every social media dance craze and music video with a street-style vibe has its roots in that show. Above all else, Soul Train created a devoted following of listeners who have carried the band's message of love, peace, and soul into subsequent generations. Sharing old episodes on social media brings back fond memories and gives new viewers a taste of the show's glory days, even if they weren't around during it. The show is now more than just a memory thanks to events like fan reunions and recreations of the legendary Soul Train line. Soul Train may no longer be shown on television, but for millions of people it represents perseverance, originality, and camaraderie. The play has been and will be an inspiration for aspirations, fervor, and dogged cultural creativity. Can you reminisce about Soul Train? Leave a comment with your ideas. If you want to be sure you don't miss any of our future thrilling articles, like and subscribe now. In the next video, we will see you.